Hey guys, my name is Matsumiao, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Matthew, and it is, what do you think will happen with Jager if by a very small chance, his nerf has no impact on his pick rate and his win rates? So the hope that I have is that he is finally in a well-balanced state. I know that a lot of people were not happy that he became a 2-armored operator, but I understand why Ubisoft did this, and admittedly, they've been kind of trying to slowly chip away at his power over the last couple of patches. You guys may remember not too long ago, they reduced the damage on his weapon slightly, hoping that that would put him in line. Obviously, that didn't happen, so now they've taken some more dramatic steps. But if we're being honest with ourselves, I don't think this is the last change that he's going to be getting. Yes, his roaming potential and peeker's advantage isn't going to be as strong as it once was, but we really get down to it, I think the reason why people are still going to gravitate towards him is because of his weapon and because of his gadget. When you arguably have one of the best weapons on defense alongside a highly desirable gadget, you can't be surprised that people will gravitate towards him. And while I do think that there is some comfort pick going on here, a lot of people have been playing him since the very release of Rainbow Six Siege. They're just comfortable with the way that he plays, and so I think that kind of goes into why he does have such a high pick rate, but I still think it's because of that combination for why he is so desirable. And so if I had to take a guess, this isn't going to be the last nerf that Jager gets. I know that many people probably don't want to hear this, but if I had to go on a limb, I would assume that they're either going to nerf the amount of ADSs that he has, maybe dropping it down to 2 so that he can't place as many around the map, or maybe give him 4 ADSs, but they will only be able to grab 1 nade out of the air. That could be one way they go about it, or they could go after his primary by increasing the recoil, making it a bit more unruly so they can't maintain that accuracy as well, or by just simply reducing its damage. I would not be surprised if that was the way they tried to reduce his potency even further. In general, though, I'm really crossing my fingers along with a lot of you out there. I'm hoping that this is as far as it needs to go, and that by making him a 2-armor, 2-speed operator, that has finally put him in a well-balanced state. I don't want him to become a character that plays and feels completely differently in the next couple of months. I think that that would be unfortunate. I do understand why they're making these adjustments, but I hope that this is as far as it needs to go, but we are going to have to wait and see. The next question comes from Adam, and it is, with the new Ying buff, what are your thoughts on giving Mira a buff so that she won't be flashed through Mira by Candelas? The most viable counter is Warden, but it seems to be the only hard counter. Mira is strong, but a buff like that may help tame down Ying if she becomes way too strong as the season goes along. So personally, admittedly, while this is a knee-jerk reaction, I do agree that I think that Ubisoft may have gone a bit too far with the upgrade to Ying. Either give her 1 more Candela or access to smoke nades, not both at the same time. By doing that, you effectively make Jager obsolete because she can deal with literally every single one of Jager's ADSs. And so adding in another direct counter in the form of Mira or some other character to try to diminish her potency a bit doesn't seem too unreasonable. I will say, though, I feel like we are jumping to conclusions. As I said earlier, this is a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, when people kind of get comfortable with these changes, it isn't going to seem as bad as it is right now. The reason why people are playing a lot of Ying currently is because of this recent change. With the last update, the same thing happened. A lot of people were playing as her because they made almost a complete rework of the way that her Candela functions. It now flashes at ground level, chest level, and height level. That made her a lot more potent. Many people were afraid that that was going too far, and lo and behold, her pick rate and her win rate really didn't rise all that much. And so that's why they took some further steps here. With that said, though, I do agree that it would be nice if there were some other hard counters. I think the reason why people don't like going against her, it's pretty obvious, is that when her gadget works, it really works, and it feels like there's nothing that you can do about it. You're entirely Flash, she runs on in. I think this is the reason why people don't like going against Blitz. Even though these characters do take some finesse, it is not as easy as people make it out to be to play Ying. Yeah, it may not be the hardest thing ever, but you need to know how to use her properly. But it doesn't take away and diminish the fact that when you do get flashed on the receiving end, it's pretty frustrating. Just having literally nothing that you can do and you just get taken out, which feels like for free, is never going to be enjoyable. And so to have another operator introduced or some other character that can be a direct counter doesn't seem like it would be the worst thing ever. Now, with that said though, and it seems like you recognize it in your question, Mira already is one of the stronger operators on defense right now. She is constantly sidelined at the beginning of your ranked matches for a reason. People don't want to go against her on certain maps because she's really difficult to deal with. And so if all of a sudden you gave her this upgrade, yeah, it'd be nice to have another hard counter in the mix to add in more of those dynamics, but you're making a strong operator even more powerful. So that's either going to make her sidelined even more often so that she's never played, or she's going to be requirements constantly so that you don't have to deal with Ying anymore. I don't know if that's going to have the desired effect that you want. And so in general, I think that you're on the right track. I think that Ubisoft should try to explore more options of dealing with flashes and smokes in Rainbow Six Siege. I don't think that we need to have a Warden 2.0 or anything like that, but adding in more of those kinds of dynamics would be a great addition. I just don't think that giving Mira a direct buff in this respect is the best way of going about it. The next question comes from Kevin, and it is, are metas blown out of proportion? I feel like many look at the meta as inherently bad, but just because the game is being played a certain way doesn't mean it's the winning strategy. I feel like smoke planting is just as viable as when we were in that meta, but no one complains about it anymore. So I definitely agree with you that you don't need to use the most effective tactic currently to be successful in Rainbow Six Siege, especially if you're going against a team that is not expecting you to use a certain strategy, and all of a sudden you come in with operator choices or a tactic that just kind of comes out of left field. Even if that tactic by itself really wouldn't be all that viable compared to the most effective tactic, it's still going to give you the win because it catches them by surprise. With that said though, I don't think that you can just completely dismiss the meta. What that stands for is the most effective tactic available, and that's what people are going to use to get the win. Like, that's just how video games work. You're always going to have a meta. And I don't think that saying that the smoke tactic is as viable as it used to be, because if we're being honest with ourselves, it's not. Back in the day, the reason why it was so powerful was because Glaz was popular. He could see through smoke, and he had two of them. Ying was also able to use smoke, and there really wasn't a whole lot of options on defense to be able to deal with that. You didn't have Warden, you didn't have the secondary camera gadget to be able to peer on through, and so it was very difficult in some situations for defense to really do anything about it. And so obviously the game shifted, they added in new characters, they brought in new dynamics, and now we have a new meta. And while that doesn't mean that you can't use that smoke strategy, a lot of time it's still going to be very viable. To just say that it's as good as it used to be, I think is kind of ignoring a lot of the changes that have happened along the way. And so in general, while I do understand where you're coming from, and honestly, I wish that more teams would try out different strategies. One of my favorite aspects about Rainbow Six Siege, and what I think makes this game so fun, is the incredible amount of ways that you can tackle different problems. I wish that more people would get creative when it comes to this game, but with that said, the meta is established for a reason. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you can't really be surprised that people want to use the winning strategy because it is reliable for a reason. The next one comes from Zachary, and it is, should Ubisoft incorporate more rewards in the battle pass once you're past tier 30, such as more alpha pack drops? It only took me a week to complete it. So the question I have for you is, do you want the battle pass just to simply require more grinding, or do you want more rewards? Because personally, I love the fact that it didn't take that long to actually get to the max reward. I knew what I was getting myself into, and it didn't take me 5,000 hours to be able to unlock everything. One of my biggest issues with many other video games out there that have a battle pass is the grind it takes to complete them. Just take a look at Modern Warfare. It takes like 100+ hours of in-game time just to be able to get to those higher tiers. It's ridiculous. You have to only just play like that game almost exclusively if you want to be able to unlock everything. And while I know that people like that because it gives them a sense of accomplishment, I would just much rather it be much more reasonable. What I will agree with you though is that I do wish that there was more cosmetics or just simply more rewards with the Rainbow Six Siege version. I know this is completely subjective, but I don't think that they met the same standard that I was kind of expecting compared to past events or even the past battle pass. And so by and large, I do agree with you. Obviously, I want more content, but I don't think that they should just artificially increase the grind. It's just simply because you want it to take longer. That is definitely something I do not want. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that Jager is finally in a well-balanced state? Do you think that Ubisoft is going to have to step on in and make some further adjustments? How do you think that they would go about it if that's necessary? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.